Jalen Milroe. And before we get into Jalen Milroe, I think we got to give a shout out to both defenses, because both defenses played good enough for either team to win. I think Alabama had 5 sacks on Johnson, and Texas A&M had 6 sacks on Jalen Milroe. But Milroe was 21 of 33 for 321 yards passing, 3 touchdowns, and 1 pick. And there were a few drops too. There were a few drops, so those numbers could have been even better. But my biggest takeaway was, if someone told me or someone told you that Milroe would have negative 31 yards rushing and Bama would still win, there's no way you'd believe that, right? You'd be like, no, Milroe's going to have to use his legs to win. He's the best athlete in the field. He's going to have to use his legs. Well, he didn't have to use his legs. He used his arm, and he did exactly what everyone knows he's good at. That's the big explosive plays, the ability to push the ball downfield. So A&M knew his strength. Of course, everyone talks about what his strength is, and that's throwing the football deep and showcasing that strong arm. They knew his strength, and they still couldn't stop it. And of course, Burton went off. The receiver went nuts, made some really good catches as well. But that's because Milroe gave him a chance. So Milroe was 6 of 8 for 200 yards passing and 2 touchdowns on balls thrown 20 yards or more in there. That's pretty incredible. I don't know the highest number of 20-yard throws of balls thrown 20 yards or more in the air this year. That's got to be up there for top few, like for sure. 2 to 4 range is usually like, okay, that's pretty decent, right? So 6 is really good, especially to only throw 8 of them and complete 6 of them. So 200 yards of his 321 yards came on those 6 completions, and then 2 of the touchdowns did as well. Another kind of thing that I think is easy to overlook is, I think he's getting better each game. Like, everyone is always going to be like hypercritical on the interceptions, or when he misses some short yardage throws, or when he's inaccurate in some throws, right? But every quarterback misses, right? Every quarterback's inaccurate at times. Like, if you give the stat line that we just gave Jalen Milroe to any quarterback, they would take it 10 times out of 10 to throw like that. So yeah, of course, still stuff to improve, but each week I feel like he is. And you saw that, I think, with those short throws. Like, he had, what was his, I don't have it exactly, but I think he was a 9 of 12 on throws 0 to 9 yards, which, great, he should be able to do that, yada, yada, I get it. But that's the area that he needs to improve on. He is. So he was 9 of 12 in that short yard range. And I think that did lead to some success in those deep balls. Now, he had some deep throws early, but throughout the game, he's able to hit some of these short throws that I think led to those deep throws. And we talked about that in the pregame breakdown, that the short throws, like, would A&M is going to force Milroe to make those short throws, and he did. But even with that, he was able to hit those deep balls, even with A&M trying to prevent that and knowing that. Another big takeaway from me, which I thought was an interesting stat. So most quarterbacks, middle of the field, throwing the ball between the numbers is where the majority of the yards passing are going to lie. Now, I'm not saying it's always going to be, 90% in the middle of the field, 10% out. You want it to be somewhat even, for sure. But throwing outside the numbers is typically tougher for any quarterback. Right? Typically, you're going to see quarterbacks be more middle of the field and more inside the numbers, at least. So you can still throw left and right and be inside the numbers, and not necessarily middle of the field. But outside the numbers can be tough. So usually you're going to have more yards between the numbers and outside the numbers because of the tough throws. Well, Jalen Milroe, only 93 of his 321 yards came between the numbers, came like middle field-ish, right? So 220-ish yards passing or 210-ish yards, 220, 230 yards passing came outside the numbers. Really, really hard throws. The majority of his passing yards came outside the numbers. Those long throws are tough, and most defenses take that into consideration when they're defending, but they really don't put much stock in most quarterbacks being able to make some of those throws. But Jalen Milroe was able to, right? Like that's a big deal. And those type of throws can just kill defenses, and that's exactly what Jalen Milroe did. So those tough throws, not just the deep throws that were the explosive plays, but just the throws out to the numbers in general, which a lot of the deep throws were, but still just the ability to throw that type of distance on the field and be accurate is an impressive feat. So I think Jalen Milroe played great. I think you're seeing improvement each and every game in the fact that he had negative 31 yards rushing, but did this much damage in the air against a really good Texas A&M defense. Like A&M's defense is legit. Like, they're stout. Against a really good A&M defense is just that much more impressive. So I think Jalen Milroe overall takeaway is one. He's able to continue to perform and be successful at what he's good at, the deep throws. But you saw him take steps. You saw him hit those kind of shorter throws, and then he didn't have his legs. Of course, he had his legs, but A&M took away his ability to run, and he found a way to win, right? So I think that's a kudos to Jalen Milroe. Really, really good game. Let's see, Colin Boone in the comments talking about Jalen Milroe, A&M fan. friend of the show. I was watching. Let's see what Colin had to say. A&M's game plan was to make Milroe hit those throws, and he did it. I still think the defense did enough to win the game, but that's not the same Milroe we saw week 2. 100%, Colin. And that's 100% exactly what A&M did, is they said, hey, hit these throws, and you'll beat us. And he hit those throws. But A&M's defense played good enough to win. Anytime you have 6 sacks, anytime a running quarterback has negative 31 yards rushing, usually you're going to win that game. Defensively, you played good enough to win. But some of those throws Milroe made are NFL-type throws. There's a reason why he was a huge recruit. You know what I mean? There's a reason why he was such a highly touted recruit. It's not just because he was a really good athlete. It's because he can throw the damn football and throw it really well, right? It's just that consistency factor which he's shown to be able to improve on over time. So let's talk some Max Johnson, Colin. We'll get into some Max